Secretary of the Navy, asked me to put a hearing together on hardening of the military forces, airplanes, tank, everything. And it was, his worry was, at the end of the Cold War, we'd kind of go off and have a barbecue and forget about these things. And we called the administration and said, would you like to come and testify and tell us what you're doing on hardening just conventional weaponry? And they said, why? And Senator Warner got him on the phone, he talked to the Assistant Secretary of Defense, and the guy says, no, no interest. So we had a staff briefing, and we couldn't get anybody from the administration. We got some independent experts come. And then Warner tried to put money in the budget to continue hardening of our military systems. Didn't go. Appropriation wasn't supported. And we're now kind of looking at, trying to catch up. Because we thought it was the end of history and the Cold War was over. And as General Harensack says, we did go on a holiday, procurement holiday, an intellectual holiday, in terms of dealing with nuke infrastructure, the platforms, and philosophy and doctrine and policy. So yes, our nuclear weapons would be able to be launched because they are hardened, but I don't know that we'd be able to tell who did it. That's my worry. And it would take America out of the world. We would not have any interest in going anywhere.
Thank you, Peter. Larry?
Yeah, these were both excellent presentations. When we started talking about China, I guess I was flashing back to our last ICAS meeting when we talked about the 100-year marathon in Michael Pillsbury. So I think this was sort of, you know, a sequel to it. But having said that, I guess for Peter, I have two questions. The first one is, and I'm trying to remember back to the late 90s when we had our original negotiations with North Korea, headed by Silver Fox Wendy Sherman again. And what did we know and when did we know it in terms of what the North Koreans were doing that we felt we had a piece of paper that said, you won't do nukes and we'll give you food. And when later on it was argued by that this is a lousy, you know, they're not going to agree to it. But, you know, our defense was we have an agreement. But obviously it didn't hold up. I was wondering if you can comment about that agreement and in terms of what we knew at the time and what the state of the North Korean economy and the nuclear technology and its relation to China was. And I guess the second question is a little of a thought exercise. And you know, being both Colombian men, you remember Warner Schilling and his military technologies. When he, since I had a China background, he had asked me to do an exercise, a paper for the class, and basically it was about the Chinese soldier. Said, put yourself in a position, you're a Chinese soldier, a Chinese cadre, a Chinese middle-level officer, and up to the generals. What, from their perspective, what are they thinking in terms of the outside world? What is their role? And I guess in relation to that, I'm thinking of Kim Jong-un and his father Kim Jong-il at the time when, again, those late 90s negotiations were going. Does he wake up in the morning, he and his group, and say, you know, we're rotten SOBs, and we want to take over the world, and we want to destroy the United States? Or do they reflect and say, you know, we're surrounded. The Chinese have dominated us for hundreds of years. The Americans, we fought them 70 years ago, 60 years ago, and they want to destroy us. What do we do to protect ourselves? In the sense that, do we have any ability to communicate with them on that level? That is to say, we know in so many words they're doing bad things, but we understand you're coming from a position, from your perspective, of weakness, of vulnerability, as opposed to your concept that we have a position of strength. Yeah, we know you think we're bad guys, but what do we do to mitigate that? I guess that's, I'll sum it up at that.
Thank you, Larry. Larry, can you quickly respond?
Well, just on the history, 2 or 3 points. After the 1994 agreed framework was signed, Bob Gallucci, who negotiated the agreed framework, testified before Congress, 2 or 3 committees. He was asked a couple of times what would happen with this agreement if it were found that North Korea had another secret nuclear program. And his answer was the agreed framework would end if we found out the North Koreans had a secret nuclear program. But at least we would have gained some time. That was his answer at that time. At the very time we signed the agreed framework, North Korea was beginning its collaboration with Pakistan's A.Q. Khan, Pakistan's nuclear czar. That collaboration intensified as the 1990s went on. Khan tested 6 nuclear weapons in May of 1998. The North Koreans were present at those tests, got all of the technology from those tests, which Khan then turned into nuclear warheads for his Gwari missiles. Gwaris were twins of North Korea's Nodongs. In fact, the original Gwaris were complete Nodongs that North Korea shipped with some cooperation from China at that time. The North went into Khan's labs and developed the nuclear warheads in 2000, 2001, 2002. That is why they have warheads for the Nodongs now. This was Khan's technology, which they completely got from Khan at that time. But it really was the collaboration with A.Q. Khan that really got the North Korean nuclear weapons program off the ground in a big way.
Thank you. Okay.
One quick question.
One quick question, please.
Well, Mr. Lewis, thank you for your presentation, and I'll try to keep it short and simple for you. So, with regards to North Korea's cybersecurity attacks and its capabilities, what are some indicators that you would think we should be on the lookout for to be able to determine that it is either escalating or developing its capabilities? And in that sense, how do you think we are viewed, the U.S., in the international community, if we took a more preventative step versus taking the countermeasure approach? Thank you.
And I should note for people that the International Institute of Strategic Studies that we recently puts out an annual review called The Military Balance. And I'll have a piece on North Korean asymmetric warfare capabilities in that piece. I just think we should assume they're going to continue to develop irrespective. Right? It's relatively low budget, there's a high payoff, they've put a lot of effort into it. So I think that we should just assume continued development. They're lagging behind among the 4 countries, and so there's plenty of room for them to improve without significant change, particularly if they get help from a country like Iran or from Russia. Some of the indicators of incidents are very much tied to politics. So if the political tensions are increasing, that's an indicator that an increase in cyber attack is likely. For the U.S., the problem is, doing anything that does not increase the risk of the situation on the peninsula becoming more unstable or falling apart. So I think the U.S. looks at everything through the prism of how do we avoid a greater conflict? How do we make sure that this doesn't spill out into some other domain?
Thank you very much. Let's give Jim a round of applause. This is small open, and the same thing. Applause. Good. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. And, I will. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, hey, Robert, next speaker from the Kissinger Institute, just arrived. Okay. Here's the rubber. Okay. This is your tag, but,
People need a quick break.
yeah. Okay, we'll have 5 minutes break, okay? Thank you.
I'll be fighting with the bladders.
Sure, sure.